On this episode of the Esports Meta,
Like, it might change the meta to more brawly things that happen in the jungle.
Rocket's got the third highest win rate.
I think it's like a fluff thing, man.
Well, let me set this one up again.
Like, a CEO comes out and goes like, listen, I was a dummy.
Hello, welcome to the Esports Meta, your place for video game news and competition. I'm Billy Sims, bringing you a week of very exciting, very interesting things that have happened in video games. So we're going to be talking about Overwatch Steam reviews are back to mixed. Marvel Rivals fires its game director. There's a lot more to that story than you might know already. And then Pokémon Day has some big expectations coming this week. And to talk about all these things, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you guys think and what you're talking about and what's important to you. So hit us up on our social media. Drop a comment in our chat live right now. We're streaming on Twitch and YouTube currently, amongst a couple other places. Well, and like I said, you can hit us up on our social media at the Esports Meta so we can chat about these topics. We want to know, we have some good takes, some bad takes. Do you have a better take? Let us know. All right. But to do this, I'm going to have to bring our co-host with the most, Nicholas Layton. Nick, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, my dude. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty great, dude. I just found out that Casey Jones was added to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
Dude,
So,
yeah, I saw the
jazzed.
X-Pack came through.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I'm about to buy it right now, like as we speak.
Yeah, we got to put some hours into that game, looking to do a couple more on stream perhaps. But it's been a week, Nick. We know what you're going to be playing in the next week. What have you been up to this past week with some video games?
Same thing I do every night, Pinky. It's just played. I've just been playing Magic and League for the most part. Getting prepped and trying to figure out what I'm going to do for like the next ban and restricted announcement. If things will change, speculating on it, trying to see what I'm going to be doing, if I'm going to be switching some stuff, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you have any tournaments, Magic tournaments coming up?
Yeah, I got like 2 next month, but nothing too big. One is for like dual lands, so like for like a $600 land if you win first place,
Still
which is
cool.
pretty good. But like, not bad, but nothing major.
Awesome. Well, competition's competition. Glad to see it. Glad to hear it. When is that Magic ban expected? I know we have that on the agenda coming up, and I think it's in March that we're expecting.
I think it's like March 31st. Like March 31st. It's at the end, it's at like the end of the month, which is why I'm like, I just don't care about the date at the moment. So it's like I'm not even in that month yet, so whatever. But it's definitely at the end of the month next month.
Yeah, there's still a lot of time for fuckery to happen, and Magic's got the Final Fantasy set coming out before that or after that. I keep seeing news about that and like the grumblings around it. So
yeah, they did a couple crazy things. Yeah, so first the ban announcement is on March 31st, and they didn't leak, they advertised and gave like little trailers and stuff for 3 different sets. One of them being the Tarkir set. There's the Final Fantasy set, which is going to come out in August, I think.
Okay.
It's got like it happens towards the end of the year for that one. And like another set just dropped. So basically it's them spoiler season for the whole entire year because they made a couple boo-boos and people are a little upset.
Gotcha. I'm sure those people are still going to be dishing out that cash for their commander decks later on this year for some interesting cards, perhaps. I know that was one of the controversies I saw, that the boxes that you were just telling me about, this box is going to be $300 where they're normally like $100, $150.
Yeah. So normally like well, that's the weird thing, right? Normal standard legal sets are like $130. And this one is a standard legal set, but it's a Universes Beyond. Universes Beyond tend to be more expensive.
Yeah.
So that's where like it's following the Universes Beyond route versus like the standard entry level gaming experience. But hey,
yeah,
whatever.
It definitely seems like it's also following the broke boy model and luxury skin in air quotes there from League of Legends was doing with Ari, I believe, the $900 Faker stuff bundle things.
Yeah, the $500 Faker skin. Yeah, I mean, like there's always like reprints and stuff like that with like new arts and stuff like that. But there's unique cards that come out in the Universes Beyond sets.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's definitely gonna be a topic to talk about when it comes out, a little bit more as we see a bit more hefty news and grumblings across the gamosphere. But I wanted to start us off with a little bit of a fun story. We had Moist Critical coming out with a little bit of an announcement this past weekend. I don't know if you got to see it, but I thought it was just such a fun thing. And rather than just kind of play the video, I'm just going to kind of elaborate a bit here. They have a bit that I thought was brilliant where they're basically saying goodbye. Charlie's signing off. He's done. See you later kind of thing. And then they're moving into season 2 of Moist Critical and they're recasting everybody in the warehouse, in the stream, etc. I thought that was one of the funniest bits in a while, probably since the OnlyFans kind of content bits happening. But here's that announcement video kind of playing on the side. Nick, did you get a chance to see this? And like, what do you think of the big reveal in this one?
I thought it was awesome. I thought T-Pain was awesome. He's kind of all over the place on the internet. He's doing a lot with he's getting into the whole esports thing and everything like that. So it's a nice little cool addition for everything. T-Pain is quite the character and he's awesome.
Right. T-Pain is quickly becoming one of the hardest working gentlemen on the internet without an OnlyFans, but who knows, maybe he has that on the side. And like, it's kind of evident, and it's great to see the collaboration happen here. They brought in an orchestra that I believe is on Instagram and has a pretty big account. They have brought in a couple of people with faces and stuff. Here's some background footage of just like one of Charlie's first videos trying to play this game early on. Let me bring us a little bit more forward, try to find the reveal here. Yeah. Doing a little bit of a Smash Bros parody. Blue Man is Matt. Kind of. I thought this bit was generally pretty well executed, pretty damn funny overall in a concept. And then just have that big reveal as T-Pain coming out as being the new Charlie, new Moist Critical was amazing. I did send you another video where they had T-Pain literally sitting at the desk in front of the computer in the room, reviewing The Rock's new hair product line.
Yeah, I watched the whole entire thing. I already knew about the Hair's product line, The Rock's hair product line. But the whole thing was funny. Again, that's what I'm saying. T-Pain is he's entertaining as hell.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I believe too, you signed up for his global gaming league. He's been getting into esports a lot more. He's been playing video games on stream for a while. He's been making music on stream, et cetera, for that. But like now he's kind of gone into partnership and is developing an esports league, an esports entertainment league to bring competition and music performance, among other things, to like an entertainment variety show.
Everybody can apply for it. It's like open. I don't even know what it is. Like so far, I've read everything. I've seen everything that he's done on it. I've, looked at the websites and it's like, you can get like it's going to be a big entertainment, esports thing. So it's pretty cool, but everybody should sign up for it and see if they get into it. And who knows if you'll be picked or anything like that, but it's cool.
The man, the myth, the legend himself walking on screen right now. Moist Critical Charlie, as played by T-Pain. Gotta love the intro here in this announcement video for season 2. I love the video where they're criticizing or reviewing the wig.
It's great.
And I love how dedicated all these people are to the bit as well. That review of The Rock's hair care product, he just kept going by. Like, I guess I'll take this bald man's word for it. Like, just love seeing the bit and the comedy writing around it and just off the hip improv of it. Love to see it. Excited for the Global Gaming League. I thought this was just a fun way to start us off on our journey podcast today in video games. we'll probably do a bit more of a deep dive into the Global Gaming League once that gets up and running a bit further. I know a little bit of the format currently, but maybe when we have a more substance and more dates to expect actual like competition and programs and performance, etc. going on, that'd be kind of cool to go through, because I think it is going to be a substantial push in esports, and maybe in a different way than a lot of people would expect, and maybe in a good way, not just that like sweaty boy in the VFW hall playing Halo 1, Smash Bros traveling in a car kind of stuff.
I think it's going to be
right.
Yeah, those are tons of fun. Road trips to tournaments it's never fun, to be honest. The tournament's fun, but the road trip sucks. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And I'm sure they'll release more by the end of like the year and stuff like that. Maybe in the summer, probably. But who knows? We got a lot to look forward to for esports in general. We got the EWC, which partner with the Olympics as well. So we got a lot. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, 2025 is going to be a big year for video games and video game competition here. And to kind of like pivot us into that hopefulness, move us along, maybe also in some sort of user sentiment of negativity way, we have our first story I wanted to kind of bring up, because we were talking about this last week or 2 weeks ago, and I did want to spotlight this. Overwatch 2 has officially become mixed reviews on Steam. This was one of the largest campaigns of negativity that when Overwatch 2 was launched, to downvote the shit and negatively comment on the Steam version of the game. It, I believe, at one point had a 97% negativity score on launch. 97% of comments were negative, etc. It's now pushed it up to about like a 60-40 positive score on that one. I'm not saying that's a big deal. It seems to be balancing out. Good faith might be coming back in some way, but it was one of those things to, discuss. It is something that's going on, and kind of in that mixed hopeful of 2025 of what competition in esports has to offer overall. There's an article talking about it from IGN, and like here's from the horse's mouth. We saw last week when we were talking about Overwatch 2 and their update. All reviews show mostly negative, but recent reviews show mixed right there. So not too bad, not like game breaking or like moment breaking, but definitely something to note in the trajectory of stuff happening in 2025 overall. Nick, I'm sure you've got something queued up to knock me down, knock Overwatch away, get this peasant shit out of my face kind of moment. So what do you got for me?
My bad, dude. My bad. I'll give you some time to brew. I'll let you cook a little more before I do anything bad.
Oh, okay. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll wait until we actually get to Overwatch and we stop talking about Paragon. Like,
well, we're gonna move into a Concord only podcast here. Okay, you ready for that? Sick. Very niche Sony game.
But seriously, I was checking to see if I'd actually changed my rating of Overwatch on Steam. Didn't. I didn't.
That's
change it.
That's the most important one too.
Yeah, I was hoping that like if I did, I was going to change it back to try to tip the scales, but didn't work.
Could you imagine on stream, like your one review then flips it back into like a negative from the mix?
That'd be fantastic. Like, just so we're clear, it's still all reviews are mostly negative. Just recent reviews, about 6,000 of them are mixed, which is it's nice, but
it's trending. It's trending in a way, but it's not necessarily going up, but it's kind of stabilized at least. But going more into Overwatch stuff, we've got scores from this past weekend, and they might also be as equally mixed on the overall here. Bring us up on screen.
Hold on.
What's up, bro?
Hold on. Just before we get off these reviews, I did this last week. I'm going to do it again, man. This man put not recommended. He's got 300 hours in the game, and he says game permanently bans you for saying stupid or stinky one too many times after spending thousands of dollars and hours. I wish I was joking. You're allowed to make a new account and buy skins again. Direct quote from support agent. Beautiful. Let's continue.
Yeah.
Game's gold.
All right. Overwatch, well, let me set this one up again. OWCS Week 4 Stage 1 has come to an end, and we've got the scores from this past weekend. We're wrapping up our final part of our first stage, and we're going through our scores this week. On Friday, Timeless played Avidity with a score of 3-1 in Timeless's favor. We're going to see that Timeless had some hit or miss here again, especially when it came to the top end stuff, but they take down Avidity pretty sure-handedly. Nightmare went against Rad Esports in another 3-1 scoreline. Nightmare takes the win. Kind of scaring Rad here, but overall, Rad is sitting comfortably from that relegation spot. And then on Saturday, Team Liquid faced Avidity, 3-0ing them. Heavy-handed win on Team Liquid's part. Not sure they could do much against Infected's Wrecking Ball. Rad Esports played against Amplify in our next game in a 3-0. Rad getting a little bit of redemption, but from one of the bottom teams, you're beating up on the little guys here, but they're just kidding. But they're securing their own spot and space away from that relegation game. And then our final game from Saturday was SSG versus Shikigami, and this was a one-sided affair for Space Station Gaming, the partner team in the North America region, winning 3-0. Moving on to Sunday, Nightmare played against Team Liquid. High-end match, top 3 teams going at it, but the scoreline doesn't look that way. Nightmare beating Team Liquid 3-0. Team Liquid not able to make anything happen and getting knocked down a peg for that one. And then the last game from week 4 of stage 1 here, Space Station Gaming played against Timeless, and here's that game where Timeless did not look as good. Space Station took the win 3-1 to finish out this stage and get us ready into our first tournament, as well as relegation and demotion promotion games. Gonna move us on up into, there we go, the final standings for this week. And it's important, especially this week, because it's the end of the stage, and this is where teams are going to be getting ready for their tournament bracket for the international tournament, as well as getting ready to play against the top 2 Face It League teams. Shikigami and Amplify sitting at a 1-6 and an 0-7 record, 7th and 8th place. Gonna be having the face off in a quick bracket match against the top 2 Face It League teams. It's going to be nail biting to see who gets to stay and who has to walk away. Top 4 teams: Space Station Gaming, Nightmare, Timeless, and Team Liquid, looking at a pretty comfortable spot, playing to see who's going to get top seed in the next bracket in an international play coming up shortly. Nick, these scorelines have not been impressive. They've been pretty mixed, just like the recent reviews. Looking at these games, playing through the new perk system and stuff, what thoughts, if any, do you have regarding, Overwatch esports in North America currently? Is North America just expected to just get run over by APAC and EU again this year in the first half? You might be muted, dude.
I'm not muted. I just choose when to talk. Anyway, so
what do you got, man?
So what do I got? No, let's take the diplomatic approach to this game. The league itself is in a growing phase. They just recently started having their perks and stuff to pick, so we got a lot to do. The meta's got to be hammered out, got to chisel at it and stuff. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different things that are going to be popping up, little things. And a lot of those talents and stuff like that, like even playing 2 matches, winning both, just playing those 2. Yeah, no, there's it's just stupid, but some of those talents are going to be really situational. Like the one on Moira, because I played Moira so much today, 2 times, won both. Game's trash. And one of them is basically you can jump higher when you fade, or your fade lasts longer, and basically is pretty obvious to know when you should pick the one that makes you jump higher. Is the map open? Can you go into the air? Then probably just pick the one that makes you jump higher, because you get way more distance away from people. You zoom the fuck away. All right,
Nick.
No,
trick question though. It was a trick question. You shouldn't be picking Moira, especially at the top ladder, right?
I'm not.
Moira's an easy character.
Listen, bro, I will play the worst characters in so many different fighting games. You know me. a Bowser main in Melee. And I stand firm on, if anybody who plays GNT4, who knows GNT4, I will whoop you with the third Hokage. Monkey style. 100%. 100%. And he's like the most trash character. He is the most trash character in that game. And I am firm stance that I am God tier on that character in that game. Anyway. Yeah. So, stuff like that. Like, you got a lot of stuff to really work out when it comes to all the, just the meta shift in general when it comes to the talents. And, they're just like League is, like this year is so weird for Overwatch tournaments and for League tournaments. So, you got to let it simmer out real quick, and let's see what Marvel Rivals does so that you can copy it.
Let's see what happens, man. Like, get that pipeline working 6 months ago, right? But you make a great point with it. It is a very experimental year. We are seeing this sort of shift in perks right now. It hit competition as soon as it hit the season. So we're not in a delay for these pro players. They're learning on the fly. They didn't get advance notice because they leaked out last year's for 10 gifted subs, I think it was. Remember hearing about that story, Nick, where they leaked out everything from season 9 changes for like $100 essentially, or $50.
No, I don't remember it, because much like this year.
Yeah. So
anyway, you finish it.
So generally speaking, the pros are just touching this for the first time this week, as with everybody else seeing it for the first time. There's a lot to figure out, but I think these scorelines do represent how the teams that are good and that are going to be there are there. It's pretty straightforward who's got it, who doesn't. We can definitely easily say, let me get back to the standings here. We could definitely easily say, like, with this regular season, Amplify doesn't have it right now. They're struggling to just take any sort of maps. It's a -17 map differential. They're 0-7. Shikigami in that same boat. We've seen two major shifts in 3 different metas in stage 1 through the 4 weeks. And it does seem like the top 4 teams have been able to adjust, adapt, and be more flexible overall, even now with the perk stuff. So I wonder, how much we're going to see that Face It League push into different main characters, different mindsets and strategies, especially when you get to this top echelon. Or maybe this is the design, right? The partner systems are just going to prep Space Station Gaming to sit on top again and again, like we kind of saw Toronto Defiant do last year in North America. But we'll keep our eye on it, of course. We'll see how that plays out and see which characters, heroes in game become the main character. And I think the way we can do that and see that is through our stats here. Nick, if you're ready for it, I got some numbers and I got some charts for you. I'm trying to make it a little bit more digestible, just so we can take a look at ban rates. I wasn't able to compile pick rates. I don't have enough time in the day to do this, and we're not getting paid enough yet to make that happen. But here are the hero bans from week 4. We see that Sombra was the top banned hero at 5 times banned. Torb is up there with 4. Ramatra is up there with 4, as well as Zenyatta. We are seeing a bit of a shift from week 3 in the overall, but generally it's kind of stayed the same. Kiriko, Juno, kind of in the same spots. Healers that you've expected to be, there's not. We saw Orisa banned 3 times, Ramatra banned 4 times. So the meta has shifted slightly, but not really with the new perk system. Nick, would you have expected a bigger sort of push, or is this just comfort picks coming out in this new perk world, essentially?
I would assume most people are doing comfort picks, right? Like, you fall back when everything's like unsure of the champion you played the most, that you have the most knowledge of where their limits are and stuff like that. This is me being nice. Right.
Yeah.
No, like, but that's in every game, right? Like I say, the meta goes up in the air, and then everybody just goes like, yeah, I'm just going to play that dude I played 15,000 times because it feels good, and you can trench through a lot of stuff on things that you already know, as long as you're, playing the same character. So
that is something we've talked about with League of Legends, that some of the comps and the metas feel weird or stale, like the same matchups, and something that Fearless Draft has definitely shaken up. I don't know which one's the grammatically correct, but either way, Fearless Draft has made it felt fresh, where you aren't so reliant on just the same hero every single time and the same pick ban sort of strategy back and forth. What's that?
No, I was going to say, instead of seeing like the same strategy and the same champions, we only see the same strategy now. Like that's it. So champions change, but yeah, the lane swapping and stuff like that. But but yeah, I mean, back to Overwatch. It's like everybody's gonna get used to all the perks and stuff like that, and like figure out who's gonna be the little crackhead that does too much damage in the game and stuff like that, and really shouldn't even really needs a nerf or something. Or they're gonna find out that probably like, hey, a lot of these characters aren't that great still. Man, like Genji's nonsense seems pretty ridiculous. Reflecting tracer ultimates, just absolute bananas.
That was such a great play I shared with you from this past weekend in one of the games. So that was just heads up play, Genji being played on the field against the tracer, and just mind games knew that ult was coming, expected it, and deflected and stuck the enemy tracer with it, which is
so before just correct me if I'm wrong on this. Before, you couldn't deflect it at all, right? You would just die.
No, you could.
Oh, you could.
It's a projectile in the air, so if you time it correctly,
I don't see enough Genji. That thing is trash. First off, just make that permanent. Make that permanent. That's a very good skill expressive thing. Just make that permanent. That he actually reflects that.
It's been
no. I mean, like, you shouldn't actually pick the talent. Like, that talent shouldn't exist. It should be just part of Genji's kit that he reflects the ultimate. Right? I thought that was for talent. Dude, what?
It's been part of the thing. Genji has historically been one of the fan favorites, because he's a robot ninja, samurai, whatever you want to call it. So like all the nerd anime weebs definitely love it. But Genji's been a highly expressive character since day one. And
just raw dog attacking people.
We haven't seen a Genji in the meta for too much since Moth Meta, really, back in Overwatch League years and years ago. He's come up for like flashes and a couple months here and there. But like, we're kind of seeing them try out things this past weekend. We got to see them try it out against a tracer. We haven't seen a Genji tracer sort of duel in that sort of manner in a while either from that play. But yeah, that's been base kit, and that's been a skill expression from day one, though we don't usually see it expressed at that level.
I mean, if you don't see it at that level, then you don't see it at any level. So you can understand me being perplexed, not being the most deep Overwatch person. Go like, oh, I've never seen that in like, how many years is it now?
Almost a decade, man. So that was a really cool play to see, and going into the overall like hero bans from the full stage one, broken down by week each color. Genji was actually banned total of 4 times. So not really considered a threat. Even in the dive comps even in the dive heavy hazard comps, the quick sort of adjustment things. Though week 1 was predominantly where we saw those 2 bans. He got 1 ban in week 2, none in week 3, and then 1 final ban in week 4. So we did get to see more play as others got banned out, and I guess some teams that are stronger in a dive situation or a comfort pick might have come up. Overall, looking at this chart for the full ban list of stage 1, Wrecking Ball was the most banned hero in North America. Coming in a close second was Sombra, Lucio, and Hazard. Hazard hasn't had as much ban or play rate as week 1, 2, and 3. This past week only getting banned out 1 time, which would be kind of considered crazy shift in the meta compared to like the other 3 weeks, the rest of this month. We aren't really seeing Reaper, Roadhog, Reinhardt, Sigma getting banned out. I know we did see some Sigma play happen earlier in this stage. Ilari as well was one of those that we haven't seen a lot of play. But this past week, I think one of the biggest ban changes was we saw more Zenyatta play, therefore more Zenyatta bans with the perk system, etc. And Nick, we're looking at this chart, of course, and we're seeing a lot of the different colors and numbers representing the weeks. Is anything standing out to you specifically in that thought process? Because you did make a pretty decent point where we weren't seeing Genji out and about, so we weren't getting to see that full expressiveness. Is there something else of significance you're seeing here
that I could just pull out of my butt out of nowhere? I mean, like, look at it. Like, movement is still too valuable in this game. There you go. That's like the deepest shit I got for this game. Is movement is just too valuable for this game. There's nothing you could do about it. Like, you need to, like, something needs to change. Yeah. Like,
I think it's one of the core tenets. And then you have characters like May or Reinhardt or even a Symmetra kind of suffering for that. Sim got some decent play, but like those characters are less able to move, like Doomfist or Hazard. You're not going to see go anywhere.
Yeah, it's the mobility is just too important. And you see, you know, even in the tanks, it becomes pretty ridiculous, right? Like, it's look at Hazard. He's all over the place, man.
Big time. That swipe is so far reaching now with the perk, and Wrecking Ball has literally come in like a wrecking ball and just the counter comp to Hazard off of week 2 into week 3. And now the perk system, he was a little bit less banned out, but like he's still a flipping force. I love Wrecking Ball and that like movement. There's nothing else like it in any other game. But yeah, like mobility is king in Overwatch. And I would argue mobility is king in a lot of competitive games. We talk about like Apex, like what's his face? Pathfinder was so great because of that, like Spider-Man tech, right?
Yeah, but then you get to the point of the game where you could actually bunker down and then it changes the whole strats where you have caustic and stuff like that, right? The game does change based on the time. But I mean, like when you start making all your tanks just be like enhanced Doomfist, like you just like you're kind of it's kind of cooked. That's real silly. Like that's how Hazard feels to me. He's literally just like an enhanced Doomfist. You see, oh man, he flew across the thing. Like, and this is a healer speaking. It just happened to me today. Like, I feel like I almost killed myself repeatedly trying to save these kids. Like,
well, at that point, that's you can't heal stupid, right? Like, we've said that since WoW for 20 years. So like that Doomfist going in behind 2 walls, 1v5ing the enemy team, you can't heal stupid, man. And like sometimes you just shouldn't. But then your rank goes down. So it's
exactly
a hard place to be.
And so like, do I let him teach himself a lesson or do I just get through this thing and earn them points? But anyway, no, but like, you know, it's serious. Like, and to say that there's like no juggernauts really in this game is a pretty big thing. Like even like Roadhog like moves while he does like his whole entire thing. Like he's like constantly a threat because of how he plays. Like if he's just there and you see him, like you turn a corner, there's a Roadhog. You're like, damn. Turn a corner, there's a Reinhardt. You're like, whatever. I backed up. Like he hit me with a hammer. He's not hitting that charge button. Like so, like you don't know. You're not really getting like punished for that sort of thing. And like Reinhardt's one of those characters that probably should be like, you know, there should be some juggernauts where sure they might move slower or they take a little bit longer to progress through the map, but they should have a little bit more something. Give them an extra button.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I wonder too if we're going to see the start of an Overwatch 3 mentality with these perks, essentially, because that Overwatch 2 mentality with hero design was leaning into the Mauga kind of mentality where you were a bruiser, not quite that juggernaut part you're talking about, but like being able to do a ton of damage and like not move away from a double shield kind of thing, move away from shielding. Shields aren't necessarily bad. Can talk about, and especially now that they gave Orisa an option for a shield again. But it'll be interesting if they go into that juggernaut thematic rather than the bruiser thematic that they've been doing where tanks are busted. And speaking of tanks being busted, here's another graph for you, Nick. Generally speaking, let me zoom in a little bit here. Here's looking at 2 different charts for the total bans by role not each week, but throughout stage 1 here. Support being the least banned out role in North America through all 4 weeks, DPS in the middle, tank at the top. And by week breakdown is the bottom chart. You can see in week 1, the blue bars, that support was actually banned out just a smidgen more than tanks and DPS on that middling down there. Then a quick pivot in week 2, supports being the least banned out overall there. And it's kind of mellowed out, evened out as weeks have gone by. Week 4 especially, DPS became the number 1. So I do appreciate seeing those shifts. That could just be player sentiment, but tanks have definitely a thing that's always impacted the meta and definitely defined strategy throughout competition here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like a tank and a DPS can kind of do it, but for the most part, your tank determines like what your play style is going to be on your team, like how your 100%. Team's going to play a certain map. So, like, it makes more sense. But let's see if they make tanks that fit the same roles, right? But
yeah,
as in like play style wise, but
and without chipping away at DPS's capacities, right? Like being able to, I don't know if you necessarily want to make it that rock, paper, scissors where like tanks beat DPS, DPS beat healers and the healers beat tanks kind of thing. I don't know if that's anything viable or makes sense. It sounds crazy as I'm saying it out loud, but you want these roles to have unique purposes and goals and just like not utility, but like just what they bring to the team, what their role is, what they're doing. So like if a tank is doing all the damage, why do you need DPS, right? But Nick, if you're ready to get into a little bit more of the granular, I absolutely can. We can speed run this real quick. But here's a couple more graphs based on those role divisions overall. Here is stage 1 support bans for all 4 weeks. The top is broken down. It's a total, but broken down by week, and the bottom is separated by week. We can kind of see Lucio having some big bans and then dropping and then back and forth. So Zenyatta being nowhere and then coming back, and then Kiriko, Ana just like kind of steadily through.
Movement characters, and Ana is busted. Ana's not really busted, but like Ana's busted. Like if you play Overwatch, you know what I'm talking about. Ana's got a little of that nonsense going on a regular basis. It's real niche. It's not really niche, but like those real situations where you just have that Ana just buck off that ultimate or something. It really, turns the games around, stuff like that. So yeah, it makes sense. Again, like the movement speed is just like a little too valuable.
Yeah, and this to kind of clarify too, this is player sentiment at the top. These are what these teams are picking in competition, what they feel like is a threat, what they feel is enabling their other team's strategy perhaps. And it's also what they feel like will best cripple the other players. Like it's going to knock the ceiling down so they're not going to soar as high perhaps, right? So that Ana thing makes sense. That Lucio makes sense because now you're limiting the capacity for speed or extra healing or that sleep dart for the anti-dive kind of stuff. But it could also be a troll pick. It could also be protection. I'm surprised we haven't seen any Mercy or Moira picks, especially the way we've seen some of the games get 3-0'd so dominantly. But Brig is in there. Brig being a bit of a threat in that week 1 by the bottom chart. You can see that blue is up there. It's kind of contending with 3. But the rest of the weeks, it's getting 1 ban out. Maybe as an alternative pick. Let's pivot us into our DPS chart as well. Here we are. Same kind of thing. Looking at Sombra, we said before, top band throughout the whole stage. Torb, second top band. Nick, I gotta bring it up again. You kind of spoke this into existence, calling out that Torb is trash, that he should be a deleted character, and then literally the next day we had that Japanese team, please don't ban us, start running this Torb deployable comp, and then it becomes the most banned out character. You look at the top chart or even the bottom one where Torb is, there is no blue. Blue represents week 1. So they were not played / not banned in week 1. And then week 2, 3, and 4, they instantly become this like great threat. And I got to credit you, man. You've spoken it into existence. I know you're trolling, man, but you changed the meta. Don't forget that.
Yeah, no, that's all me. I change this game from all the time. No, I mean, it was pretty cool that he actually gets played and stuff like that. But I'll stand by it. I don't think that this is like a thing that will stand the test of time because of like the comp itself. It's not going to be like you know, I don't know, like GOATs or something like that. Like it's just I think it's like just something for like right now, and the game the game itself will just progress past this comp in general.
Which might also be a good thing because historically people don't like GOATs. They didn't like Moth meta or Dive meta because it lasted too long. So Nick, another sort of foresight there. This meta not lasting too long.
How many times I got to tell you? People don't like it when they don't get to do the thing that they like. Half these people do not like Overwatch. They just love some Genji shit or something like that. You know, like thinking people with like Hanzo and shit. Like that's it. And they're just and then like if that changes, they're like, this game's as soon as like Hanzo players are fighting against GOATs, like of course they're gonna scream that shit's bullshit. You know, but like
I have a friend who Mercy sells skins. That's why I had a friend who refused to play Overwatch 2 because they're a one-trick Widow player. They're damn good, but like they got bored because like they couldn't do as much. They're more open and vulnerable as Widowmaker. So it became exactly that. They want to play their game inside of the game overall. And maybe that's all of us in just video games and card games and competitions in general. But it's really funny to get to see this manifest in this way.
I'm not like that. Kind of.
No.
I do play like everything. I do play everything most of the time, except like Overwatch 2. I never got to play DPS because the queue times were too long. But hey, they were like 1 minute today. Lots of people trying this stuff out.
Yeah. Love to see it. And last chart here, love to see this. This is the tank chart for stage 1, what was banned through the weeks. We're seeing Wrecking Ball Hazard, like we mentioned earlier, some of the top tanks, or the top tanks banned. Winston as well as Diva also being banned out. And then in that middle ground, Ramatra, Orisa Malga not too far away. I mean, Doomfist, Junker Queen, Reinhardt, Roadhog, and Sigma, and Zarya not seeing any sort of like threat level essentially from players thinking they're viable or thinking that they're going to make a difference in the game. So play it if you want to. We don't care. Having zero representation overall, like this does seem like a fairly healthy stage 1 meta where you're seeing a variety of different bans across all the different matches. Especially when the tanks are the ones that define strategy. And this is only North America. I'd be very interested to compare and see this with the APAC region, the Chinese region, as well as the EU region, EMEA, how their pick and bans go, because we do kind of see psychologically how players' sentiment changes with the strategy like that. And I think tanks are kind of in a middling decent spot considering all the bad that it feels like when you play a tank. It's kind of gotten to that decent ground. And that's where, like I said earlier, I'm hopeful that Overwatch 3 mentality for character design as well as tanks is starting to shift into actual gear here. Nick, I know you've got your feelings about mobility, Hazard, Wrecking Ball, Winston, Diva being our top tanks, but what do you feel about like a Ramatra kind of also there in this meta, in this like pick ban mentality?
I'll be completely honest with you. I couldn't even name her abilities or their abilities. I don't even know one thing about Ramatra. Are they also a robot?
They are. They're a big bad punching robot too.
Yeah. Like I've seen them. I've seen what they do in the game, but I couldn't tell you what they do. I've never actually played it before. But what I can tell you is that maybe like the game modes need to change a little bit. And I don't mean like, I mean like they might need to deviate off of Overwatch-esque game modes in order to let other tanks and strategies thrive.
Interesting concept. Yeah.
I mean, they all do, like you kind of all do the same thing, right? You run to an objective. Both teams just run to an objective, regardless if it's like push the bot, push the court, get the territory. It's you both like run to a certain spot from your spawns. And maybe it should be something along the lines of like, I don't know, you set up your own base or something like that. Like you bunker down and then like you set up where your spawn is and the other team has to come like blow it up like Assault or something like that for old Halo and stuff like that. I don't know. Cause then like that would make Tor better a little bit, might make Reinhardt a little bit better if he could like hold the position. I don't know, stuff like that. But
yeah,
as you can see, Reinhardt's so good in this game. One of their flagship characters is just so freaking good in this game. It's amazing. Roadhog, that guy's been getting way too much hate since the game started. So, you know, and you can just delete Sigma. I hate Sigma. Get those feet out of here. I don't hate him as a character. Just like, no, I just find it weird when artists just literally want to put feet out there. Like, we ain't got shoes. Like, what's that? What's up with that? Like, you ain't in your house.
It might be.
No, it's weird, dude. It's weird.
Skin,
it's weird.
Absolutely.
It might. Yeah, I know. I hear you, dude. I don't need this shit, man. I already got Briar in League of Legends. Like, I don't need this nonsense. It's weird. It's absolutely weird to like have it be like, yeah, but he's gonna be barefoot, and it's like, why? They just answer it. Just why? Why you got to have him be barefoot? Man. That's not for the memes. It's because they're perverts. Yeah, bunch of Quentin Tarantinos out here, man. I don't need this nonsense. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird. But anyway, he's not played anyway, so no one gets to see his feet. So that's hilarious.
Well, he's not banned. They don't think he's a threat. I do think he's been picked a handful of times in the OWCS, but yeah, you're right. Like, it's not really a big deal. And that's a really interesting point. I know they're going to be bringing in Stadium, which is not really a different game mode, but is a different game mode because it's deadlock style, that MOBA actual buy items inventory, true aspect of MOBA. And next season, I'm assuming it's going to also hit competitive and as well as OWCS when it launches. But that idea of like going into like some old Halo 2 or even like what CSGO assault kind of mentality.
Yeah, taking like the flag out of your base. Stuff like that. Like, a lot of the times you're protecting like the area anyway. Like, oh, we don't want them to like take over this area or something like that, like you did in Overwatch already. But I don't know. It just feels weird. Like, you don't really get to set up some of these like comps in certain ways, stuff like that. But
in that way, I doubt devs are going to end up seeing this, but if you're a dev with Blizzard, I know you guys try a lot of different things behind the scenes and you have some information if they've tried like an assault style tower defense, perhaps, or one team needs to bunker down, the other one attacks the fortress kind of thing. That might be cool. And it might see different sorts of comps come through, more variety in that sort of like explicit variety that's map based, that's mode based. That'd be kind of interesting. Let us know. Comments. You can hit us up at the Esports Meta. We're everywhere where you are on social media, or just drop a comment down in chat right now. We're live. We want to know what you're thinking, what you're talking about. But Nick, I think that wraps up Overwatch. We did talk a lot about it. It was a big wrap up from stage one, all the stats, all the numbers, etc. You ready to move into our next score lines with some League of Legends scores?
Yeah, I guess we can do that.
Hey, Billy here. Wanted to take a quick minute to let you know a few things. If you're enjoying the content so far, please consider liking and subscribing. It's free for you and it really helps us out. You can find the Esports Meta live every week on Twitch and YouTube. It's where we film the podcast, play games, hang out, and chat. If social media is more your vibe, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, or Blue Sky. This is a video game community that's excited to talk about esports, so jump on in the conversation. Of course, you can find more content like this on YouTube. Just hit subscribe right here or here. Either way, we appreciate you being here, so thanks for watching. Let's get back to the show. All right, we're going to speed run through the scores just a bit as we kind of prep us into the first stand expectations here. Let me scroll in a little bit and get this on screen. All right. So we last left off last weekend where North beat South in the LTA cross conference, just kind of across the board. South not really getting any sort of representation moving forward and into the games. Now we have our top 4 LTA North teams fighting to make it to first stand. 100 Thieves played FlyQuest and beat them 2-1. A little bit of a surprise, like we were discussing, expecting FlyQuest to be our main characters in this little bracket here. The other game, Cloud9 played against Team Liquid Honda. Cloud9 falling to Team Liquid in a 2-1 match. These games seemed a little bit closer scoreline wise, because when we move into our finals for this cross-conference bracket, 100 Thieves played against Team Liquid Honda and lost with a with a scoreline of 3-0. 100 Thieves added another 0 to that 100. Not really able to take anything off of Team Liquid Honda this past week. Nick, you got to see the games a little bit. How is your sentiment? Looking at these score lines, it feels like it might have been a bit tighter, but these are teams that are very familiar with each other. Know what's going on and know how to strategize a bit better because they play each other more frequently, right?
Yeah, I mean, like similar to last week, man. I watched these games. I was not entertained. The whole LTA has not entertained me this year. Unfortunate as it is. And it could have just been as simple as just instead of being just the LCS North and LCS South, you went to LTA and it just bummed me out. I'm not sure. I can't actually be certain if that's an actual thing in my subconscious. But we have Team Liquid qualify for it. I'm pretty sure that I said I thought Team Liquid was going to win in the finals and win over Cloud9 last week. Pretty sure. I did want FlyQuest to win over 100 Thieves, but I still pretty sure I had Team Liquid beating them last week. I think I said that.
We could check the tape, and I know Team Liquid and FlyQuest was definitely on the tips of our tongues as far as that matchup goes. I believe you did kind of push to the expectation that Team Liquid was going to be making it into first stand overall. And not a bad prediction. You made it true. How do you think they're going to fare as they go across the seas, as they wait for the other opponents to be ready and play in the first stand now?
Sure. Let me see.
Let's put on our thinking caps and see if they stand a chance against the LCK.
No.
That was a really quick no.
Yeah, I don't want I feel like I'm too uneducated and too mean to really go into it. But I because I'll feel like I'm just I think Impact's great. I just don't think he's a former world champion. He's super good on Team Liquid. Umpty is good. Core JJ is good, but he's not the best support going to first stand. He's great. And that's pretty much the same thing for everybody on the team. In my I would say
do you feel they like are sorry, go ahead, finish up.
No, I was just going to say that I just don't think that they're that they have one person who will be in the top. I don't want to say in the top 5 of their position, going into an international tournament. They don't have one of those players, so it's going to be very hard to compete in general.
Okay. Do you feel like they're going to be able to utilize the fearless draft system to their advantage? Have they had a pretty decent ideology on it? Because it seems like a lot of these teams are still grasping the concepts, or maybe not. International play is difficult enough in the pick ban sort of mentality, let alone the new fearless aspect of it. But that could really be something that's going to push it into 3-0 territory, essentially, one-sided domination where it's one team's clearly got the goods and the other one's meandering. Do you think Team Liquid might be able to make some spark happen in that way?
I hope. I got dreams. I hope so. But no, I'm not too hopeful overall with how it's going to go. Just in general for them. I feel the same way kind of about the LEC. There's really just there's going to be some super strong competition going into some of these. I'll tell you right now, dude, these LCK games have been insanity. Some of these games have been pure insanity. Okay. And there's just some of the supports that are out here in the other regions are top notch, man. They are just way too good at this game. And supports are the most put it to you this way, support is literally a role that basically if someone doesn't know what they're doing, they're probably just going to ruin the game for you. If they know what they know what they're doing, the game goes great. Right. But if they're a really good support, holy shit, will you see some crazy nonsense happen in general? It's insane. Oh my God, I want to know what the hell's the one do? There's like 2 supports that I let me see. Right. Anyway, but anyway, they're like the light is, and that's what it is, bro. I thought it was like the light is great. Humble Life Esports is gonna be like gonna decimate North American teams. And so, like, and honestly, like, I feel bad. Like, LTA is just gonna get like, I don't know, LTA the fuck out. That's what, like,
yeah. You take the NA out of NA, but you still have that in NA. Like, yeah, I don't know what the quippy sort of statement there is, but yeah, NA, LTA, not looking like they're standing too much of a chance to hopefully have some fire in them. They can make some magic happen. But yeah, LCK has been looking really strong. I do want to go over a little bit what the first stand tournament is going to be looked at, because just today, upon recording, that League Esports released an article primer just of what to expect from this tournament. Generally speaking, it's going to be kicking off in March 10th, I believe, in Seoul. Round robin stage into a knockout stage into a knockout finals, going to be happening over, I believe, 7 days, about a week-long tournament. Teams competing, we currently know, let me bring us over to here. We currently know 3 teams, Hanwha, Team Liquid, and CTB Flying Oyster going to be competing. There's still 2 more teams.
And G2.
Figuring out G2's, so there's 2 teams from the LEC?
Sure.
I wasn't too sure from this line. I wasn't, if it was finalized, if there's still like a tournament match, to figure out. But yeah, G2 on its way to play here. So we have 4 teams and 2 more left to decide going into this. Let's move on down into the format. Round robin stage, pretty simple, straightforward. Best of 3 against every other team, determining ranks and power rankings, etc. Going through that in a standard sort of way. Moving into the knockout stage, it's single elimination, best of 5. So first of 3 matchups are going to be decided by the placements. First place, second place playing fifth and sixth place, essentially. They're going to progress and then get culminated into the final day where the grand finals are going to occur. Fearless Draft is a big part of this one. It's the first international competition, correct, Nick? Where we're going to be seeing Fearless Draft at this top level of pro play, correct?
Yes. It's the first one of the year, first time that we're really seeing Fearless Draft. And Fearless Draft is just great. But as I said before, right now we get to see the same strategy over and again. We just don't get to see the same champions. So, and the strategy is a little bit like different from like what you might think with like the lane swap and stuff like that, Billy. But for the most part, it's the same. It's a similar strategy. Like if I showed you one strategy and then changed the champions, you would see the same strategy, but just a little bit different kind of thing.
So they're essentially running the annexation of Puerto Rico, but they're just doing it with different players every single time.
I mean, yeah, for the most part, like so essentially, basically, what happens because of the lane swap is that you just have the top laner just sitting on an island, and then basically he gets ganked and killed underneath tower at like on the 4th minion wave. So minions start spawning at like a minute 30, I believe it is. I can't remember. Like I'm just being an idiot right now if I messed it up. And then they spawn every 30 seconds afterwards. So basically, like 3 minutes and 30 seconds happens, and he's dead. And there's nothing you could do about it. There's some things you could do about it, certain situations, but like that's basically just like what's happening.
I wonder if player innovation will come in, but it doesn't seem like it's worked in the past. I know we're going to be talking in just a second about what some dev testing is producing, tech wise, etc. But just to finish out this primer for now, what you can expect at first stand, Fearless Draft. We've been talking about it all season. If you want to check out more detailed, you can check out past videos, or you can take a look at this article. You can grab some drops and watch some co-streams kicking off through this. I believe that's kind of it. That's actually a pretty gnarly skin. And that's I'm assuming is like a spray or an emote on the top left there.
Yeah, that one's an emote. There's a capsule in the bottom, and I'm not sure either one of those are actual skins. That looks like a normal Darius skin, and that's, I guess, Soraka. So that's Soraka could be a different skin.
Yeah, maybe they're just kind of hiding the final thing here. But yeah. All right. Final matches are on March 16th.
Oh, they got a new heads-up display.
New HUD also being introduced here. That's one thing where it is difficult to follow as not a fully immersed League of Legends player, where there is a lot of information on the screen, and that's like a good thing, but then also kind of a bad thing. I'm glad to see that they're considering stuff with the HUDs and like modernizing the presentation. That literally, I'm reading it word for word. I'll see how it plays out a little bit more. Let's take a look here. For a differential, you can see the picks, you can see the heroes, you can see the health pools, of course, and the map and where they are, as well as some player cams, which is nice. All kind of consolidated to the bottom. Yeah,
health bars are a good change, but overall, like the maybe, I don't know. I like the LCK one is pretty good, but I do like this health bar, the health bars down there. But it's not going to be great for mobile either, for the most part. Down there, maybe it'll be a little bit better for mobile, but I don't know. Change it up. Who knows? We'll see how it is.
Something they can maybe do as time progresses, but having something there, maybe having different streams and different formats.
These people need to start doing more important PSAs, like turning on the accessibility controls for League of Legends. And this is like no joke. Like turn on the hearing impaired settings. Because it actually puts an icon on your screen for when an ultimate happens when you're not around for certain characters. Like something that would signal with like a sound effect will just give you a visual cue on the screen instead of like having so you don't have to worry about like the audio and stuff like that. Huge important thing that what's up?
Even a subtitle would be nice. Just having like a voice line subtitled closed caption kind of thing.
Yeah, but this one, like you see where like they have the I'm pointing to it, obviously. Renekton's big bro, which is funny lore, bro. Renekton's big bro right there. Like it would just pop up right there and show like the move and the person's face. And so you get to see something. But like that's this is cool that they're changing it, but like who like I'm not reading any of this. Who's gonna like straight up?
We're kind of blowing through this, and like it's something they're doing, but maybe it's a step in the right direction to see, like you said, the accessibility. You could hope, but that's also where these kind of games and these dev teams get caught up in their own stuff.
None of these are actually like embedded into like the feed or the video. So if you're watching this on like a phone, if you go to touch this because you don't know any of this stuff, like it's not going to pop up and tell you what it is. All of this information is useless. And the person who worked on it, the person who told you to do it, is a jackass. Like this is stupid. Who's reading this besides people who already know exactly what this stuff is? Rotating champion. Anyway, we're going to be able to see it. Like it's very silly to like go over all this stuff. Don't show us your boss's presentation that you sent them. Okay. But anyway,
at that point too, it might be something where they had the intern take over and come in and change the game and really make an impact. But we'll see if it does make an impact, if it does change viewer sentiment and like readability, accessibility. But League of Legends absolutely is a game that if you know already. This might be their attempt to try to have better acquisition to new players, new viewers, perhaps. I'm not saying it's a good one. I'm just saying maybe it is their attempt at that. But either way,
I see the NFL going over 3-4 a lot, right? Like you sit down, new person of football, first game, you'll be able to know what a 3-4 is.
Yeah, you got to know what a Tampa 2 defense is and how to check down into the audible. Right?
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Anyway.
But that's the kind of strategy that we like and that we're here to help explain and kind of push through. And we do know that like these game developers, not just Riot, have struggled in the past with communicating clearly and concisely. I mean, it's hard to do. We struggle sometimes as well. But to finish up our primer here for first stand, we're going to take a look at the prize pool expectations currently. Looking at a $1 million US dollar prize spread across the participants. $300,000 for first place, $225,000 for second, 172, just halving as we kind of move further down. There's only going to be 6 teams here, right, Nick? And it doesn't look like, at least what Wikipedia is reporting, there's going to be a prize pool for 6th place. So like, it's really important that you are not the first out on this tournament.
So there's the semifinals are the first, are in like round 2. Okay. There's only 4 teams in the semifinals. There are 5 teams in the round robin stage.
Yeah. Well, I thought there's going to be 6 teams. Is that
not what I got?
All right. That's where I was a little bit confused earlier. Looking at the teams coming in, I thought there was going to be 2 spots from what you said. Kind of
so
what
the 2
showing.
spots,
G2.
it looks like the 2 spots would probably be like, I mean, that says LEC Winter, but I would assume that they're like, we have the round robin, and the round robin has, all the stuff.
Yeah, I thought that there's going to be 1 spot overall, and then they're still in contention here. G2 is fighting whoever comes up, and then whoever wins that match is going to the round robin 5 here. That's what I end up thinking. But maybe it is going to be 6 teams. Then the round robin is going to eliminate 2, and the semifinals is going to bring us into the top 4 kind of thing. Sure. A little bit of confusion on that part, but yeah.
There you go. Top 4 teams advance to the playoff stage. So like, I don't know, 5 teams in the round robin stage. I don't know, man. This is what I'm saying, dude. Riot scuffed the shit out of all of this, dude. If I got to pull up a web page every single time, like before it was just Billy bitching about his alphabet soup, just going like, man, it's got so many letters. I only deal with football in America. They have the AFC and the NFL. And now it's literally like, and now he's just like, it's just ridiculous. But so we have first stand coming up. Like we'll realize exactly what the fuck it is as soon as like it's actually in motion. This stuff is so silly. Like I don't want to read something 10th, like 7 times.
March 10th is when it's kicking off. We're going to try to provide a much clearer view for Riot Esports, League Esports here. What to expect, when to expect it, what teams are in it. As soon as we get that information, we'll try to deliver that as concisely as possible. But Nick, speaking of confusion, this next part, it was a little confusing to me, but like it seems pretty straightforward to that strategy. We're still talking about League of Legends, but like regardless of the characters that get picked, the characters are changing because of Fearless Draft, but that strategy is staying the same. We're seeing this week a tweet out by Riot Froxon, I believe I said that correctly, possibly one of the developers, correct, tweeted out about some changes they're making potentially to anti-lane swapping. Here is that tweet. I can read through a little bit, but Nick, if you want to prep up me a little bit more about who Matt is here.
He's one of the guys over at Riot, and he's just communicating with us like oh my god, Matt, he also does all the videos and stuff like that. But for the most part, this is just a breakdown of the stuff that's on PBE, which is the public test realm, of their thoughts of like what they're going to do to try to curb some of the lane swapping that exists right now, which is pretty pretty heavy.
And that's something we've talked about before, where it makes for very unintuitive, and then boring gameplay to watch or to play here. Let's run through and read really quickly what this is. This is a pretty long tweet overall from lead gameplay designer. But like primarily it seems like they're introducing technology for lane swap detection. 2 champions, both of whom don't have jungle item, are in the offending lane or surrounding areas. They're kind of setting parameters of what would be qualified to be lane swapping, essentially, and when it would trigger and when it would not. And then going into the nature, these changes are temporary and by extension heavy-handed. By necessity, we intend to work on longer-term solutions. As far as testing goes, you want to push that for limit breaking, of course, see what works, what doesn't quickly. And then the feedback down here. We've also seen comments about this affecting regular play and potential griefers. We are trying to strike the best balance between minimizing impact to regular play and maximizing effectiveness in this. Nick, is there something that we should cover in more depth, or do we, can we like talk a little bit more about this implementation? Because here we have a developer and the developer mindset going to implement tech to curb player behavior, something we've criticized before with other games, perhaps, whereas player behavior is such a difficult thing.
So this one is, I mean, League is a little bit different from like other ones, like with because of there's like specific timing on a lot of things that happen in the game that are set in stone, right?
Right.
Like it's not like, the minions are going to continue to spawn. It doesn't matter what you're doing on the map. Unless the game is over, the minions are going to continue to spawn, right? So it's a little bit different to try to curb a lot of like the player behavior. And I mean, for this instance, like basically it's more, notice first off that it's only on top and mid, or like the real big things. It's not in the bot lane. The roaming support, which is the player that's on like the bot lane, if everybody were to stay in their seats, would roam up to mid. And without him having a jungle item, that means that like he would actually like kind of grief his player just by even getting into this zone. So they're gonna have to like think about that. They might just take it off of mid, stuff like that. But this doesn't change like the jungle. This just makes it so this is trying to make it more of, I don't want to say like a fighting game, but I always like equate this is like football mixed with like a fighting game. Like they want you to be like in your lane and for top to be top, bot to be bot, support to be support. And right now it's just not fun for the top laners playing this. So,
right. But they pretty much don't get to play the game after, like you said, like minute 3. So like I can see like a lot of the restrictions here are kind of addressing that. And like Matt kind of said, like this is expected to be heavy-handed so they can figure out what works, what doesn't work, etc. But then also try to keep the looseness of the game of strategy, perhaps. If you were to make maybe an educated guess as far as what's going to be not the best outcome, but what's going to sort of have the most impact, what do you feel like just looking at this through the test without playing on it, you think is going to have like the biggest impact?
I think the lane swap just changes.
Yeah.
Like I think it still happens. I just think it happens a little bit differently. No, I mean like it's still like, so top and bottom still switch, right?
Okay.
But it just might not be 2 people go to top. It might just be that you put your ADC up there, which can fight a person. And then you have 2 people in the bot lane. And then you still, because like basically the reason why is usually because when you have a person who could deal damage from ranged, right? Which is your ADC, like 100% of the time in current meta, right? Is going to be a person who deals consistent damage from range. They're able to basically shut down a carry top laner or a person who needs items and gold and stuff like that and experience. So they're able to just really set them back. And that's the whole point of like the lane swap, right? But like if they could do that 1v1, it'll just happen anyway. And then you just have like, and then here's the funny part. And then we'll go back to like the 2009 bot lanes of like Garen and another person and shit like that, which Garen is a top laner. And so like that used to be like the way the meta used to be is like real whack, where like an ADC would be mid and it'd be like a juggernaut in the bot, like 2 juggernauts in the bot lane, no jungle. But this doesn't stop like jungle. Really, it really only stop like it really is only going to hurt. I feel like supports, because supports have like such a big role, and like maybe it's not that it hurts supports, but it really takes away their ability to be useful at times. And I will tell you right now that reducing any usefulness that a support has will negatively impact the mental on a support player. Because it's like it's people who like to play support in League of Legends have, if you've been playing it for a while, yeah, thanks. That's all I gotta say. Like some of you are trash. No, seriously, because like it used to be like you used to need way too much gold. You used to barely like have to constantly buy wards all the time. So like you were spending money to not buy items, but to buy vision for the map. And like again, they still buy pinks and stuff like that. And they sweep and they still place down wards. But it's just part of their role. And so that might be trimmed down a little bit. So it might be more sketchy. Like it might change the meta to more brawly things that happen in the jungle, to certain characters that actually put down their own wards. Like the character Fiddlesticks can put something in a bush to give them some sort of vision to know when someone goes by, stuff like that.
Right.
But I'm sure I'm wrong about all this stuff.
I don't know, man. You tend to be right quite a few times. So we can make that prediction as a broken clock. You're going to be right twice here. It's interesting when we start talking about that strategy, because League of Legends, as somebody who's been aware of it and has kind of like dipped my toe in it here and there, a big question I've had is like, why is there these kind of roles? Like, you know. No, because a lot of it doesn't make sense. It just seems very arbitrary. In the same way, like if we were to talk about like American football, why is there like those guys just lined up in those ways? And like the rules have now dictated that sort of thing. But in the beginning, why was that the strategy? Why did somebody decide, oh, we're going to put 5 guys on here, and then we're going to put 2 more on the one side, and then we're going to have them like do this and that. And it's kind of the same when you look at like the league map from above. Obviously the lanes make sense, but then you put one person in the jungle and then you've got an extra body. So you put them somewhere else, and then, okay, that person's a support because then they're teaming up and then they're going to feed the other person the resources. Like all those decisions have been made, and like step by step, we've gotten to this point where lane swapping is a problem. And then like this shift in mentality to change that player behavior is going to shift the meta potentially that drastically. Even if it's like, okay, this is the time that somebody goes to lane swap is going to change, or if it's going to be a 1v1 battle rather than like I brought my boys and we're going to run over you kind of battle. It's interesting to me in that strategy mindset for this, because I don't fully understand. I wasn't there for all the steps, but I'm still fascinated by this.
Think about it like, and this is like, a glorification of it, but I think it's like a pretty apt metaphor, I guess, is like, think about them as like chess moves. Like, you know, like chess has like evolved over like the millions, the thousands of years.
The millions of years since the dinosaurs played chess.
Go is like a 2000, it's the oldest board game, which like in China, and like it's like 2000 years old. So anyway, so like chess itself, right? Like a lot of opening moves that were really good in the beginning that are straight trash now, stuff like that. That's essentially like, and also some moves that just had no thought behind them whatsoever, right? That's also like some of the things in like League of Legends, right? Like, so the thought of why did like there was no jungler is because somebody like the argument of why aren't like those were just the extra, the icing on the cake. Like people didn't really see that as like, if you did it, and like jungle used to be broken as shit. Like I'm not even joking, dude. You take 2 fucking camps. Take 2 camps. You're level 3, and then you're just ganking somebody, and they're level like 1. Like what? Like
I was on the receiving end of that a lot, and that I didn't understand it then.
Yeah, no, it's like, but that's the thing though. Like there's I would more equate it to like, you move your rook to this area, and then a lot of other shit just makes more sense then, rather than like right now. You know, like why'd you do that? Like I don't know why you would even do that. And then like you do, it's because of this. Like that's kind of like how a lot of the things happen in like League, and how that's also why it's a lot of fun for a lot of players.
I think one of the conversation pieces we've had on that previously too is like, in my confusion, asking that sort of question, like kind of equating it like the person who's an ADC, or maybe the mid lane even, it would be this. It's a skill role. So like you kind of look at it like in traditional sports, the quarterback of a football team, he's touching the ball every single play. He's orchestrating and coordinating stuff. So like would the ADC kind of be that skill role? Would it be the mid lane kind of in that skill role? Kind of like that's
everything you just said is like the most average like league player in the world, like because like not even like the average, but like man. No, but like a mid laners have like huge egos. Like they literally think that like they're the fucking quarterback, and it's like you ain't listen, bro, unless you go 13-0 and you're just smurfing on this game, you ain't the quarterback. Like that's just not how this game works anymore. So like it's stuff like that. But like the people who have like serious impact on the game, like it's jungle's really impactful. And I like, and personally, I think support's probably like
ADC.
No, I would like ADCs, whatever, bro. If you make it to the end of the game without smashing your keyboard and you have gold, you'll be able to deal damage. You have to just be able to like use your hand. Like, I'm not saying it's not a difficult role and there isn't skill. It's just one of those things that like, as long as you get to 40 minutes in the game, you're fucking there. And if you're not there, you were playing with your feet. That's how ADC works. Like, no disrespect. Like, if you die the whole game, you're playing with your feet. And if you're playing exactly the same as the other guy, it's all about your farm. And you're not playing with your feet and you're doing your thing and you'll get there. That's it. And if you're stomping them, guess what? You got there faster. Like, that's all. Like, so, but like, so support can really throw your bot lane. Just in general, like a bad support can really ruin your, like, also not even like bad supports, just like it's one of those things. It's kind of like playing, it's pretty much just playing like duo queue, but like you're not duo with the person. So like if you're not meshing with that person, that sucks. Like literally I had a game earlier today, right? And like I picked the champion and I'll say it. I played Gragas support. I don't give a fuck. I got a big win rate on it. Anyway, I enjoy playing Gragas support, right? The guy immediately flames me in champ select, right? He's like, I'm just going to mute once we get into the thing and do this stupid shit and don't even care about this game. Have fun with your ban is what he says, right? And I'm like, all right, man, I don't care. What's your win rate? And he's like, here's my link. I was like, I don't care what your win rate is. I was saying that to tilt you. I don't care what your win rate is. Shut up and play. Like, so we play, and because of his stupid mentality of I'm just not going to play before the fucking game starts, nothing anybody even did to him. It was just, I can't play with you because you did something I don't like. So then that put him in a poor headspace. We got into a losing position. And I will say, it doesn't matter what the plays were because there weren't going to be any followed by this motherfucker. So like, it didn't matter, right? Like no position to recover from if you're just playing 4v5. So we had to wait until a certain point of the game. And guess what? We won the game. The guy, like, I got the guy fed. Like, the guy was strong as fuck at the end. I was saving his life left and right. And, like, I didn't care. I muted him already. I don't give a shit. Like have fun with your LP, my man. But, like, that alone right there is, like, it's just not, like, you can really ruin a game just from your own mental of just being, like, just being a dick. Like you either sat down to play the game. Yeah. And again, another situation that he wants to play what he wants to play. And he only wants to play that thing. And he doesn't want to play League of Legends because when he plays League of Legends, someone pricks Gragas support and he loses his shit. And he's like, he didn't eat his oatmeal this morning.
The game inside the game. I think it'd be a cool, from at least May, especially my point of view, if we did go into that sort of conversation of like, what would like, we kind of look at the roles kind of being in that sort of traditional sports positioning aspect in hockey, football, basketball, kind of applying that to like all the different games. Because absolutely, the mental will define how you proceed through a game, regardless of the game. But yeah, man, like it's very fascinating to see and hear like the actual on the boots on the ground kind of development of that and how it impacts the day to day.
No, it's definitely I got nothing else to say now. Yeah, but it's definitely cool. I said a lot, bro.
You did.
You didn't say anything.
You went off. I was listening. I was being a good podcaster and just going silent, right? But with this lane swapping tech, you know, we have a lot that could happen with it. Yeah, and like that's a situation that doesn't necessarily help on that. We could see this basically more likely impact the top end competition, of course. So predictions, any sort of prediction for that tech? Like we already talked about what you felt like the biggest impact would be. for this. Sorry, excuse me. We already talked about what you expect the biggest impact of this sort of tech would be if it was implemented into the full game. But currently, it's not. So like, I don't know. We're just trying to wrap this up. Any sort of last minute thoughts with these PBE changes, this test with the lane swap detections? Because it seems like it's necessary, but like it also seems like tech can only do so much with player behavior. It's like adding a new rule to the game. Essentially, players will find different ways to implement, possibly exploit, and to just do what players do, especially when they want to grief or they want to like sleaze cheese it up.
I mean, there's a lot of people. How do I put this? There's a lot of people who can play like solo queue. I think solo queue and like it's just played differently a lot of the time. And I don't think that this is something that should be in solo queue.
Okay.
But that's just like quick thoughts on it. Like I really can't like say why. Like too well besides like
though.
Like for like not having it in solo queue.
Yeah.
Or just having it in solo queue.
No, not having it in solo queue because you're not coordinating an attack in solo queue. If you are, you're doing it through like on the fly strategy, not so much like conspiracy like these pro teams are doing. Like the LCK is going to conspire against all the other teams.
There's enough conspiring in Challenger with all the people who actually watch stream watch people on stream snipe them. No, I mean like I just don't think it's something that like Challenger isn't pro play. Challenger just isn't pro play. It's not the same. It doesn't look the same. I'm sure like I'm not there, but I'm sure it doesn't feel the same. Like get an interview with somebody else. I'm sure they'll tell you the same thing. I'm sure it doesn't feel the same, which is why they go on the tournament realms and why they have like their scrims elsewhere, because like, playing solo queue is just to like test the champion. It's more like going into like, practice mode for pros. It's not really like anything else. They're practicing maneuvers. Reps. Yeah. They're not like, so like if they put it into Challenger and stuff like that, and even if they do, I guess like cut it off at like Diamond. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be fair. Yeah. Interesting. We'll see what they end up doing with this if they actually implement it into any sort of public sort of version of it. I do appreciate them being transparent about it and talking about it and like trying it out, because a lot of developers will stay quiet and just not do anything and just let it ride. So great to see. I think that kind of wraps that stuff up for League, Nick, unless you had something else you want to kind of spotlight before we move on.
Nothing.
All right. Well,
now my ADHD's running me.
Yeah, I see you bouncing here and there, but let's bounce on over to Marvel Rivals. This past week, Marvel Rivals released its newest half-season patch. It had a patch notes update, 2 new heroes released, and we got a little surprise in the news about some quarterly earnings reports, which is boring, but there's some big firings that have been talking about. Not just we talking about, but everybody was talking about it. So let's start off with the game update. We got a lot of platform bug fixes, new heroes. The Thing and Human Torch are ready to rock out and flame on. Costumes, of course. First Family's got to sell some costumes for the game. That's made a ton of money so far. Remember that for later. New map and mode where they're adding another push map, another hybrid push map essentially. It's nice to see that they've already added a lot of stuff. They're kind of being very fast paced on this cadence, etc. Battle Pass stuff, ranked updates. They did not do a rank reset after the players' complaint, so they accepted the feedback. They took it to heart and they've adjusted. They did have some general statistics and season changes that they're going to filter differently and end up overall changing for the tournament stuff coming forward. There was a lot of graphic settings that were added and a lot of fixes to platform and optimizations, maps, modes, heroes. This is something we've talked about too, where it's been needed. The game has been developed kind of quickly, focusing on the aesthetic as well as the vibe for sales, it seems like. Not necessarily a bad thing, but definitely a thing that they're doing. It's good to see that they're following up and making a solid game release on here. And I also think that's kind of relevant when we get to the little bit of the story later. So I want to make that note, put that push pin on there, and kind of come back to it. You know, we did see nerfs and buffs to heroes, which is good. They're not going to do a full shift in between these patches. So getting it on the half patch and then at the beginning of the next patch is going to be good. Something like Storm, it got a little bit of a nerf. Venom got a little bit of a buff. You can check out a lot of content creators who've covered it with some interesting details and minutia there that we're kind of just learning and seeing as we kind of move into the new half patch overall. That was a quick speed running of that. Nick, as a Marvel Rivals half player like I am, have you gotten a chance to jump in? Have you seen the new characters? And how do you feel about this current progression through this patch notes and development cycle? Essentially, we've only had about 2 months of the game, and we've seen 4 characters added, as well as 2 or 3 maps, and a fair amount of developmental changes, even by mechanics of like how moves and abilities work. So what's your general thought and take at this point, kind of moving forward, so that we can upset all those Marvel Rivals lovers? Hey man, I think you muted. Got you again.
I told you I don't mute. I speak when I want. So anyway,
I forgot.
So anyway, I think I don't know. I think this is like something to be a little cautious of, just in general. Like all of these could already have been done before the game even launched. They could still have more in the pipeline ready to go. And they literally just, got rid of a bunch of people. Yeah. And, some of those people were working on skins, whether or not they were original or not, I don't know. But, anyway, there's all sorts of stuff, but it seems really, really weird. Sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that too. And like, that's going to be the biggest question I have too. I think this is a good game. I love a quote Flats had. He's an Overwatch streamer, known for Overwatch streaming. He's played some Marvels. He's played some other games now too. But he had a pretty good quote kind of addressing that debate that people want to fight with it. You can have 2 cakes right now, but instead you're getting mad that there's a second cake and that you're throwing it down. It's going to be fun and get to see it both the games. And I'm just hopeful that Marvel Rivals can kind of keep its own woes at bay and develop in a good faith manner for the players and the gamers, because that's ultimately what gamers want to do. We could have 2 cakes, we could have 2 games that we could love in this kind of genre, in this mentality, and kind of keep playing for it. So I'm with you on that, where this cadence might be problematic as we continue. We'll see how they address and adapt on it. But like, looking at some of these numbers too, I think that's going to be where it's going to fully be representative. Here's from Marvel Rivals itself information, some pick rate and some win rate stuff. And we're looking currently at PC competitive for all roles and ranks. The pick rate, the top pick rate is Cloak and Dagger. We saw the supports triple support get nerfed. So we should expect that, pick rate, this isn't going to totally represent that, but Cloak and Dagger, 28% nearly pick rate and a sub 50% win rate. So they're getting picked a lot and they're not winning half their games. That might just be the 50-50 of like you're playing a cloak against a cloak kind of thought process. Luna Snow in that sort of ballpark too, as well as Invisible Woman. 16% pick rate for Luna Snow, 16% pick rate for Invisible Woman, and both have about a 48% win rate. So likely going off against each other. But the one I do want to spot out, because it's one that Nick, you've talked about being problematic in this, and maybe one that we should focus on. It's going to be Rocket Raccoon here in the 5th spot. He's number 5 total pick rate, 16.13% pick rate overall, and a 55% win rate.
Yep,
here.
Makes
this
sense.
Is all ranks. This is only PC, and this is only comped. It's a very low energy character with very high value, like you said, and it's kind of being representative, especially now that we're seeing the shifts of this triple support strategy kind of fall back a little bit more. Player sentiment kind of like divulging into this other strategy. Man, looking at the whole total win rate, Rocket's got the 3rd highest win rate currently as far as being reported on the Marvel Rivals stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, look at the other ones around it. It has quite the pick rate and the win rate. It's got that's pretty ridiculous.
Top 5 for Yeah. Top 5 for pick rate, top 3 for win rate.
Yeah. I mean, again, just the value of the things that you can do without actually having to do things.
Yeah.
So
the only comparable currently looking at win rate too is you look at Thor. Thor has a 12% pick rate and a 52% win rate. Definitely more modest compared to like Rocket or win rate of like the top win rate of Storm, and definitely more modest than the top pick rate of Cloak and Dagger of 28%. Thor is probably top 10 maybe of picks. I do know that the triple support meta kind of pushed Thor and Moon Knight more into that counter meta mentality strategy, because his ult would just drop a big slam bomb that would kill people through those ults. It would get a lot of value just pushing the backline, getting their ults out, and then just going boom with his ult. But there's a little bit more of an argument that he's less brain dead than than Rocket is. Man. So like, to your point earlier, and for me to kind of continue this monologue, it'd be interesting to see how Marvel Rivals continues, because these are definitely some of the red flags of the game development, and like what could really feel bad if you're waiting 6 weeks for any sort of change in the next patch and hoping that they kind of do something.
Kind of, right? Like, I think that you will have the opposite problem of Marvel Rivals than you did for like Overwatch. And what I mean by that is like there's going to be no shortage of champions, you know? And so like, I think the meta is always going to be kind of changing. Like, as we're like, I doubt that they're only going to, like, how many champions do you think they're going to release per year? Like, we're probably got another 6.
Yeah. That's a great question. And I just want to add on that. Like, I think the meta is going to change as fast as player sentiment changes. Whatever people think is busted, there's going to be things that are going to sneak there and power creep for sure. So that almost makes you want them to then patch quicker. No?
Like, kind of, but like, I don't know. I think this is one of those games that I don't think has enough time. Like, a lot of the live service games just don't have enough time to breathe when they're competitive. Like, I don't know. Like, I say this with Melee, right? Like, Melee has like a good shout out Hungerbox. Good job. Yeah. Yeah. But like, you know, Melee has like a good example of like Melee's never been patched, but the meta shifted constantly. And like the best character wasn't the one that anyone thought it was going to be. Like, so like, I mean, like Ninja Puff was a thing, you know? We did I did bust that bad boy out, but same thing with this. Like, they just, a lot of things is like the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Things happen right away, but there's glaring problems. Like, Storm was a glaring problem in the beginning. She straight I still consider her straight booty because she can't fly properly. Like, I don't know how like the god of wind and lightning for the most part on Earth like can't move on the map properly. But anyway,
but she's got a 57% win rate off of a 5% pick rate, which is interesting because that means the people who play are either specialists or that she's just super dominant and not everybody's playing her in the games.
As people just don't like her, probably
because the flying feels a little bit like stuttering.
Also, Magic. But like, who was a fan of Magic before Marvel Rivals came out? No one.
I did like Magic.
Did
like Magic.
No. You like the thought of Magic? If we were like, hey, give me some of your favorite Marvel X-Men, you would Magic would have never hit even your top 5. So I'm not even going to hear that. But
I liked the Midnight Suns game. I really liked Magic in the Midnight Suns game, and it was a really cool storyline with that. And then, of course, the new class, right? That storyline. But like, I think to your point, Magic was definitely more of a deep cut appreciation, because of course, if you ask who's your favorite X-Man, they're probably not going to be talking about Magic. They're going to be talking about Wolverine, Gambit, etc. Right?
Yeah,
so 100%. It's definitely more of a deep cut, but like Magic is a menace. Looking at this,
Magic is a menace. Like, Storm's really strong whenever I see it, and even like watching people's streams and stuff. Like, Storm seems really strong, but she does, again, like, the movement is an issue. She moves very, very slow. It feels terrible playing on her. I don't care if you give her the little crappy Lucio aura, it's garbage. She barely moves to the map. It feels so disgusting and slow that like I honestly understand why she's not like, it doesn't matter how much you buff her damage and how good she is and what set bonus she gets for the season. It doesn't matter because you still have people not being able to experience the game because they got to walk through the game. It's the same reason why Reinhardt's not being played, dude. Like, it's very simple.
Yeah, that's interesting to Storm specifically because 5% pick rate is a pretty low pick rate, probably like middling low for Marvel Rivals, but then a 57.5% win rate is kind of mind-boggling, essentially, for Storm. And it does feel bad, but I wonder too, developmental wise, if the devs made that her throttle, like they, this was her centerpiece, and then they built everything around it to be this and that, and it kind of chose a thing that felt like molasses.
I'm not even gonna lie, dude. Like this, the Storm in this game is ass compared to comic books, games, cartoons. Like the Ultimate's kind of trash because you're like in the tornado. Like it's whatever, but like she doesn't seem cool compared to like Storm in the comic books and in the cartoons is dope as shit, man. She is like one of the coolest characters. She shows up and just lays it out, just lays people out constantly, just like.
But could she ever be as cool as she is? Because that's like one of those tropes that like Storm is never comic accurate cool. Because she's able to have such crazy little narrative plot twists and developments with her powers or her storylines and who she interacts with and how. Like I love the Arako storyline for Marvel where Storm becomes this council on Mars, helps terraform it, and then is fighting like Apocalypse's wife. What's her face? And like that's like one of those crazy Marvel moments and comic book moments overall. But like that's not something you get from a Jubilee, of course, right? So like, would it ever match the comic book era in video games? Would they ever be able to like kind of live up to that hype, that badassness?
Yeah, I think so. Like it just feels lackluster. Like she throws lightning bolts as if it was Zeus. That's not what she does. Like just in general, that's not really like she throws lightning down. She summons lightning, right? And kind of casts lightning, but she's not Zeus throwing lightning bolts. Like that's what she is in this game. Like it feels very much like, just Zeus. I'm standing on Mount Olympus. I can't really move from this place, but hey, I'm throwing lightning bolts. That's how she kind of like plays out. She could be more badass if she was moving around the map, up in the air, doing some stuff. And actually being more impactful when she's there. Like in the air, like I don't even know why she doesn't have the ability to just go like, you can't fly. I don't fucking care that you're Iron Man. And now Iron Man can't fly up in the air. Like, why isn't that like...
That's interesting.
Why isn't that a thing?
There's a lot that you can do and like a lot that would possibly make it overpowered. Have you gotten a chance to play the other flyers, kind of talking about how she feels like kind of sluggish and like stuttery to play as a flyer? Have you gotten a chance to play the other flyers currently? Because I think there is a flyer meta developing with Johnny Storm, Human Torch, the Storm, and then Iron Man. Iron Man was kind of broken with the Hulk and that sort of power up. But have you played like Iron Man flying around and does his flying and mobility feel better? Because I loved some of the mobility with like Captain America and Venom and Spider-Man kind of stuff. Very innovative, kind of cool things. But like in that way, to actually ask the question again, did you like Iron Man's flying?
I didn't hate it as much as I hated it. Like for Iron Man, it kind of felt like, what was that trashy game, Anthem?
Oh yeah, the EA game with the robot suits?
EA game. It felt fine. Like that game sucked because it wasn't an Iron Man simulator. And this one, this one's fine. Like it flies around. It feels like, you're playing Iron Man for the most part. It doesn't feel that way for Storm. Like there's too many characters that are highly mobile shouldn't be as mobile comparatively. They're mobile character, like Iron Fist. Like he doesn't fly. Like, but he flies in this game.
He
legitimately flies in this game more than Storm does. And that's what I mean. Like that, like he feels a little like his character. Storm feels a little like her character, but those two characters right there could be a little bit more have a little bit more of their character punched up, right? A little more flavor to them.
Yeah. And a game that like really relies on hero fantasy and the IP essentially, which is, again, put a note in it. It's going to be important a little bit later here. I do want to kind of keep us moving ahead.
Sure.
In this last update, still talking about Marvel Rivals, they did announce their tournament plans, talking about their in-house tournament. Let me get this full screen there. And then, yeah, I want to play this through, but we're not going to really listen to it. Generally speaking, the thing I took away most here is not that they're just having more in-game tournaments through their own platform, but they're going to start introducing the MRI, the Marvel Rivals Invitational, a system where, as far as competitive and esports, they're going to start inviting the top teams from their competitive ladder in-game to, I guess, in-person events. They haven't really talked about much in the sorts of what's it going to be, how's it going to be, the format, etc., how many teams. But they did announce, I believe, for Asia and Oceanic, the teams that were currently invited for this. And again, interesting that they've already kind of announced that, but haven't announced like EU or North America mentality for that yet either. Nick, I know this, we're kind of talking a lot, and I kind of want to speed through this part a little bit, but like good or bad as far as, or to be determined as far as what's it called, the in-house tournament system, and then like this invitational mindset of like they're going to run it like Disney basically is going to run a tournament.
So I mean, I've been starting to come around to this. Like I think, wait and see kind of approach for them specifically, give them a shot, right? But okay. I think that a lot of IPs should not have ownership role over their tournaments, just in general. I think that like that's kind of where a lot of this stuff gets clipped. But anyway, just yeah.
It's one thing if the NBA owned basketball. It's another thing if the NFL owned football. They don't. But then when you have Blizzard own StarCraft 2, you get those famous moments where StarCraft 2 gets the rug pulled out from underneath it in any sort of competitive matter. Is generally what you're saying, yeah? Or I'm saying,
yeah,
that,
I mean,
would you agree?
I'll agree with it. It's it's pretty much, it's harder for the tournaments to develop and the esport to survive when the tournament itself is tied to the revenue of the game. Just in general, like where the cuts are going to be first. Oh, those guys, they're not making enough money. So like, and that's like, it doesn't really help us. It's kind of just for those people. We make money, but it's not good enough. And it's only for the fans. So get rid of it first.
Right.
Just in general. But, whatever.
Yeah. They're always going to answer to the shareholders in the quarterly meetings. And that's something that's nice and neat to bring us to our last part of Marvel Rivals topic here. NetEase reportedly fired a whole team from the US this past week after the game being so successful, after that much time. And there's a lot of different possible reasons. Here we have an article reporting from Bloomberg, more of a financial minded and business centered, that the game was almost canceled before it was released, generally because the Marvel IP was expensive, and that the person who was let go, the director of the game in the US, made a decision to spend millions of dollars to try to develop their own IP, but then worried it was going to be too bland to compete against an Overwatch, go the way of Paladins or Concord. Nick, we're kind of jumping into this next part, but it's been super relevant to everything we've already talked about on Marvel Rivals, Overwatch, even League of Legends of these developers.
Sure.
What's your sort of takeaway here from that news where you had a whole team laid off, a game director laid off, and then 2 days later they're reporting huge earnings? Because I think there's a lot of different nuanced layers to this.
No, don't even say huge earning. This fucking game made more money in one quarter than Avengers Endgame. Fuck off saying that this game made some money.
Like, I didn't say some money. I said a lot of money.
I'm just saying in general, like that's not even a lot of money. Like that, everybody remembers how much Avengers Endgame made. It made More money than that. Yeah. Yeah, you didn't know that, huh?
Yeah.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know it made more than that. I know it made a butt ton of money.
I had to Google that, man.
Ton of money.
I had literally Googled how much money did Avengers Endgame make? $2.8 billion. How much money did NetEase make in one quarter? Okay, $2.9 billion. And they said, fire everybody. I don't know, man.
It wasn't a fire everybody. I'm not defending NetEase here because it does feel like a shady tactic where they're either consolidating into like more control for their studios in Asia, in China, losing that connection directly, not to Disney, but that time zone connection office to Disney. But yeah, man, like they just got rid of I think the Seattle office predominantly. No, like they got rid of a game director, which is kind of crazy, but okay, maybe there's politics involved that pre-exist here. This article is kind of saying he was possibly part of that decision that almost caused it to fail. But that kind of then, like, it's weird. Then the game wasn't assuredly a success even until it launched. So like they were possibly canceling it last year before this now massive success happened, and then they're firing like 600 plus people, I think, right? Like
I think that's copium. I think that's horseshit. I like, and the reason why I think that that's horseshit is like based on the value of the Marvel IP alone, and based on just like any influence of like Pokemon Go, and how Pokemon Go, like the people going like, oh man, we're not going to make any money, and we have this, and like it sounds ridiculous, honestly, for a person to say like, oh, this game that you'll be able to play all these characters, like nobody's going to download this real quick. No one's going to buy any skins for this. They already have proven like Marvel Snap's making money. Like, I don't know. It's weird to think that they thought that they can make an original game characters and compete.
I agree with that, but then it also comes to the cost risk analysis of like the IP is really expensive. And it also then kind of illuminates the decision, because you and I last year were going through all the different hero shooters, arena shooters of the year, that the trend was now happening 8 years after Overwatch launched, 9 years after Overwatch launched. And like, what's the new flavor of the week here in that genre? And here's another game that kind of arrived. But I think this also then informs, stuff that we've been saying, where this game felt like it's focusing on the skins, like in that sort of way, where it is a money grab, a cash grab. And a lot of the other ones, like you said, were those cash grabs, but didn't get their hand even in the bag. Concord launched the game and immediately closed, right? Like, so here you have Marvel Rivals that ends up being successful, and you can still see the remnants of how they're very skin focused, aesthetic focused, and they're fixing their game with the poor optimization, some of the crazy glitches and crazy. How does one player with a higher frame rate able to do more damage than an equivalent player with a lower frame rate? That shouldn't happen. That is not competitive integrity, but here it was, and it still kind of is happening in this game. So like, it's kind of just proof that they aren't entirely competitive focused, but they are doing the work there. I don't know. This idea does seem to inform that they weren't sure, and there was going to be a success. They got bold in trying to make their own IP, and then they're firing the dude maybe for that idea. Maybe they're firing teams to kind of consolidate for efficiency. Like, man, I don't know.
It still sounds like cheeks, bro. Are you telling me they developed a whole game with no Marvel in it whatsoever? Or did they develop a game completely with Marvel stuff, and at the end of it, we're like, oh, we can't afford the licensing? That sounds so fucking dumb that I don't even think a game would ever get made. Like, I think if you admit to this, I would never hire you. Like, you ain't got no skills in this.
I think that's what the article from Bloomberg is talking about, where they did do exactly the latter you said, where they developed the game with the IP of Marvel, and then somewhere along the lines, they're like, it would be cheaper if we had our own IP skins, etc. abilities. So they spent $1 million to do it, and then it didn't pan out. They stuck with Marvel's, and then maybe the guy who made that decision is the one who's getting axed. Maybe that was why he got axed a little bit. I don't think it's a good decision to axe that guy. I don't think it's a good decision to axe the rest of the team, etc. on that. I think there's a lot of other things, but like this is that little aspect too of it where it's like interesting, like what are they doing here essentially? That's the question I'm trying to ask myself and figure out. And like seeing that,
I think it's like a fluff thing. I think it's like a fluff thing, man. Like a CEO comes out and goes like, listen, I was a dummy. I was really stupid. No. Hear me out. This is how stupid I was. And that's what he says. That's what we're listening to right now is a guy literally coming out who's like the CEO and going like, no, guys, don't worry about that. I'm the idiot. Listen to how stupid I was. Don't worry about all the people I'm firing. Yeah, we're making a lot of money. But listen, I was an idiot. Could you imagine if I tried to push this without Marvel? That's what he's saying. That's crazy, bro. That is crazy as shit. If someone came over your house and said shit like that, you would call him drunk.
You're right. And that's the kind of shit that too, like a Bobby Kotick would allegedly get into hot water for. Like people would have these stories about it for Blizzard Activision King doing something like this. And here you have this story reported by somebody else. Here, according to a new report by Bloomberg focused on the recent cost-cutting measures being taken at developer NetEase, which is a very sanitized way of saying they fired a fuck ton of people to just make sure their profit and shareholders were happy. It claims
only in America, though, right?
Only the US ones, which makes it a little bit more interesting why they've also only announced the MRI invitations for Oceanic and I think China or Asia regions. They're becoming more centric in that aspect rather from North America out. But here it is from the article. It's claimed that the company's founder and CEO, William Ding, was not in favor of paying Disney for the rights to use Marvel characters in game. So the CEO outright kind of saying that, at least in-house, mostly due to the licensing costs. Ding reportedly had the team begin work on original character designs for use instead, which would have almost certainly made the game feel more like an Overwatch clone. That's conjecture as far as Overwatch clone, but we also saw a lot of games fail because they weren't unique and definitive enough against something like an Overwatch. The plan didn't work out, ultimately cost the company millions of dollars and was emblematic of the abrupt changes ushered in by the CEO. That is the words from this article here. And that it sounds exactly like something Bobby Kotick did that was expressed by former developers on the WoW team, the Overwatch team, the StarCraft team, where he'd come in and kind of throw his energy around, his CEO energy as a money man, and then like go, oh, well, yeah, no, that's a fail. And then other people pay the price for it, essentially.
I think they just want to make one actual character, like a Jubilee, but like a unique character that is like a Marvel property that they made. And it sucked. And they spent $1 million trying to create that character. And they just realized that, you know what? Let's just continue to just use more Marvel characters. I don't know. It seems like a cop out. Like at the same time, like it's like the same breath. You're just like, no. Don't worry about this. You know, we're just restructuring. I'm only firing Americans.
That's very CEO and shareholder talk, right? Like they kind of claimed it was for efficiency as far as their official news on this. NetEase's official news through this optimization.
And they don't tell you.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Optimize the development efficiency for the game. They're consolidating power from North America into the other regions. I think that's what that's saying. And it's corporate talk. And it's like, I don't know, like that CEO too is probably not, he's not somebody who was in the US. He probably wasn't fired with this. So like, again, it seems like blood for the shareholder gods and like kind of double speak, corporate talk for we're going to do one thing because of another thing we did, and we're not going to blame it on the guy, but we're going to, make these other things happen.
I mean, like, I don't know. I think this is, I think they're just making so much money and they decided to cut costs to get some sort of better spreadsheet working and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. And I also think they just have like an event calendar for like the next 2 years where release is already done. And it's just like,
yeah.
And they're like, and also like getting rid of people just doesn't affect their release windows that already exist that are set in stone. that are probably tied to a lot of Marvel events because they can't use the Marvel properties without like. I just think that there's too much too many knots in that bullshit to really for me to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You would.
Well, the strategy too might be that they've released a lot of that resulted in a reduction of design team based in Seattle that is a part of a larger global design function. They might be shifting that work onto other people currently, and they're just going to expect because that cadence to keep coming out because the game industry is very well known for that like crunch time, more work, less people thing. They could also just then hire those same people, not the same people, but those same roles back for other people at a lower pay rate, perhaps at a different location. That might be that strategy. And of course, that's all business minded and et cetera on it. But then like it is interesting that they haven't really done anything talking about North America or EMEA stuff. Or also, they haven't completely fixed the game running smoothly through this. So like, there's a lot of these question marks and red flags, and it'll be interesting to see how it continues. Nick, any sort of sign-off thoughts on this? Yeah.
I also just don't think that anybody who is fired from this would actually come out and say anything against it unless it was like really heinous. Because basically, like as it is right now, they did lovely work on Marvel Rivals and they can go on to their future endeavors, right? So like Marvel Rivals made more money than Avengers Endgame. I was a game director of that bad boy. Doesn't even, it's like, is anybody really going to say anything?
NetEase made more money than, what is it? Endgame, not Marvel Rivals. NetEase is like a bunch of different stuff. Marvel Rivals were like specifically had like $130 million, I think, in revenue. Because NetEase also distributes Overwatch 2 in China now. So like that was part of that part of that quarterly because it's been in part of the time, dude. And like it's a little bit of a nuance, but like saying that like, oh yeah, I was a game director for and I made $2.9 billion is definitely misleading. Yeah, these people are going to be able to get other work on it, but launching a successful game and then turning around and being fired 2 months later for like doing work that's successful, especially when that genre has so many failures to its name.
Yeah, but they came out and gave them the good thing. We're restructuring. That's literally like, you can't even figure out what this is. And the people were let go for, because we're restructuring. There's nothing bad about these guys. And if anything did happen to them, they're not going to say anything. It's just one of those, like, both people just going to keep it copacetic, Like they're both going to be able to make money off of this now. So
it's definitely one of those corporate fluff things, though.
I'm just more inclined to not believe anything that a CEO says, especially close to a fluff piece. It's very, very odd, Yeah.
And like, it kind of, that's what I'm like, it kind of adds to this, like a little bit of red flags overall as a gamer. Like be wary of where you're putting your money. If you're enjoying the stuff, just, I think that's the takeaway for it. If you're enjoying the stuff, you're getting value out of it, then be happy with it. But then the second you start not being happy with it, the second you don't see the value in a tangible way, get the fuck out, essentially.
And by the way, it was the 2.9 billion was only from video games.
Right. Across NetEase, though.
NetEase is only their video games.
Yes.
You can take it as much as you want, but like it's not like they have like the most valuable video games.
Right, but they are distributing Overwatch, which would be considered in that, which would also then add to that. Marvel Rivals only, I think, less than 200 million. It's a lot of money in a very short period of time, but it doesn't. It's like what 1% of that 2 billion, 4 billion.
I mean, now but like Overwatch isn't even on their website, my man.
They're a distributor. They're not the developer. They just kind of middleman it. So they're making money from doing that too. And that would kind of add into that licensing. Sorry, that quarterly report on that. And then if we take a look at NetEase games overall, I doubt that you're right. I doubt that
Eggy Party, Anata, Once Human, Knives Out, Identity V, Dead by Daylight Mobile, The Lord of the Rings Rise to War, Harry Potter, Magic Awakened.
Mobile. Definitely a big mobile thing. But yeah, like I agree. Like, and these might be those quiet mobile games that are like secretly kind of pulling some cash on the side here. They already have a couple Marvel games that are licensing on it. So it's interesting that they opt to not license a third one with that, knowing the success of the other ones. But you're right. There's nothing that stands out overall as being a huge definitive game globally like Marvel Rivals has.
I mean, so
absolutely agree with that. But yeah.
A comparable like mobile games, by the way, make like $5 million. Stuff like that. Like if you like for one that like has like a good operating thing, right? But like I don't know. I think there's like they're never going to release the exact amount of money that Marvel Rivals is like generating them. Then they'll say some clown shit like this. Like it's some real clown shit to say that like I don't think that Marvel Rivals game would be too good. Like in general, right? Like I was hoping it was gonna I was really hoping it wasn't gonna be bad. And I saw some things like when we were talking about it, I'm like, all right, the information on the screen is kind of like cluttered. I don't like the way the buildings get destroyed and stuff like that. I didn't like the way some of the colors were. A lot of that stuff got like fixed. And
we didn't like the way it moved. I remember specifically, I didn't like the way it moved. We didn't like the way it moved. The cursor felt floaty, and then playing testing, then the first beta and etc. betas felt bad. For me, it felt really bad moving around. And so I don't know why it seems too far off that it wouldn't succeed like in that way. But it succeeds. And this is again, the thing I think you're saying is it's succeeding because of the Marvel IP, not because of the gameplay mechanics. The gameplay is fun and they tightened up for release and it's been a blast. And we were both pleasantly surprised at how fun the game is, but then maybe that's the point overall we're getting at here, where it's like they had their doubts mechanically, functionally, and I don't want to say they got lucky, but they kind of got lucky for it to be this big because Marvel games are big, but not all of them are this big. The other two probably make money, but I don't think there's any chance in hell that Marvel Rivals pulled in $1 billion.
They got 40 million players. 40 million players.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
They've pulled a lot of money for sure, but I don't think it's gone to that like north side of that, 500 million even. I don't think it's surpassed that. There's no chance. And that's something we might not know, and it's just conjecture. It's just speculation.
What if 25% of those players, 25% of the players spend $5?
Of 40 million?
Yeah. 25 of the players spend $5.
50 million, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$5. That's not how this works, though. Whales spend way more money. The average amount spent goes up like crazy, especially like in mobile games and shit like that. So like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. They made a ton of money from it. Like it's,
there's a lot of these mixed signals, basically mixed reviews, you might say, where they're laying off people. They're consolidating for more efficiency. They're, announcing the quarterly earnings, etc. They made more than Endgame did as a whole. So like it's something we got to keep an eye on and how they develop, and take a look back a year from now and see how their 1 year anniversary might be and what we'll be saying around it, because there's definitely some mismatching across the board with gameplay, player sentiment, etc., and see how it continues and if they can kind of keep ironing it out, because it is going to be a much different beast in development than, I guess, the Overwatch narrative, but maybe a lot of the different is the same. I don't know. Nick, that's a lot. And I've got like one more thing we can one thing we could talk about, but we kind of been running late overall. We have Pokemon days coming up, so I want to go over that at least, but there's a few other things if you want to push through it.
What things? How important are they? Let's definitely do Pokemon Day.
Let's do Pokemon Day, and then we can save some of the other stuff for next time, because it is a marquee item. So let's move on to that topic. This week, we're expecting Pokemon Day, February 27th, to happen. It's a national holiday for Pokemon fans, essentially, and an international holiday for Pokemon and fans and fellows alike. This is generally where they announce new games, new expectations, movies, shows, card stuff. They give away a lot of free stuff. One of the only times Pokemon is transparent about what they're doing. Sometimes games being launched the same day it's announced, as well as games that are expected in that year or the next couple years with dates here. So let's take a look at the video they announced with, which is kind of honestly a little bit lackluster because it's just this, portrait kind of framing TikTok video. Tune in Thursday, February 27th at 6 p.m. and it's going to repeat with Pikachu walking around.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? Maybe we're going to get like Pokemon VR. They're finally going to say iteration. Like, what they're actually going to do is come out and say that, all right, everybody, we know how you guys love Pokemon. Click this link, you'll get a free thing. And then once you click it, they're going to go, actually, every single one of you who have downloaded Power World, you are banned from Pokemon anything. You can't come into Pokemon stores. You can't even come near Pokemon packs at Target. You're all trash. Like, would be absolutely hysterical, but obviously not.
Perhaps, there is some speculation happening about what is going to happen what's going to occur this Pokemon Day. That video isn't really saying much, isn't alluding to much. We already saw that the Switch 2 was potentially leaked at CES and that they announced it with the new Joy-Cons and the bigger screen, likely coming later this year. No official date. I'm not sure actually, but we're going to know more next month in March for that. That generally coincides with these marquee games. There has been some speculation about what is going to happen. And Nick, on that note, remember 2 years ago, they sued that emulator, right? Nintendo sued Pokemon Company to sue the emulator. They shut them down, and there was quite a quick turnaround in that lawsuit. They're currently in lawsuits with Palworld and that developer. They're filing patents that are being approved just recently in the U.S., kind of staging a lawsuit for the U.S. perhaps as well after they filed that original one in Japan. So I kind of prep you with all that because then we turn around and look into Pokemon Day leaks, expected announcements, and just what's coming on. Part of that is they're expecting to release emulation versions of the old Pokemon games like Gold, Silver, perhaps Fire Red, Blue, etc. They're going to expect it to be more information about Pokemon Legends. It's a game we've known that's been coming out for a while, kind of in that Arceus mindset run, but it hasn't really had any information, any updates. So they're really expecting something heavy for that game. They're expecting a lot of stuff from the card game, Pokemon Go, which has a bit of a story on it and with it that we could talk about it, but it would probably leave us reeling because we were just going in about the same things about Marvel Rivals. It's about 10 years into Pokemon Go. So like we're some stuff here, but like, yeah, man. Looking at these sort of expectations, do you have a crapshoot like Hail Mary expectation or hopeful for this Pokemon Day?
No idea, man. But the new Joy-Cons could be used as like a mouse. So like, I'm not sure. There might be some real weird petting going on or something with Pokemon, like a Tamagotchi or something like that. I don't know. It would be. I'll tell you one thing. Pokemon Quest 2 would be sick. If you've never played Pokemon Quest, it's quite the fun Pokemon auto battler that is free.
Is that that's the free one on Switch, right? The 8-bit looking one?
Yeah. You could also play it on your phone and stuff like that. That was super fun. Play it with my kid. It's sick. He loves it. Like even now he was playing it today. But he plays the other ones too, but
yeah. I mean, they do lean into that. They'll probably have an app that comes out. They do lean into mobile very heavily. They do like the free entry to Pokemon, essentially. PCG is being looked at here. They're expecting the next half set to be announced for Pokemon Pocket TCG, which has been pretty quick because the last one was like just a month ago, the full set. Gen 10 of Pokemon in what? I guess the new games.
Yeah, probably be the new starters.
Like this one seems like there's going to be a lot of hype happening here, a lot of to look forward to. We'll have a lot to talk about next week here. Spin-offs, they're speculating about Eevee being another one because the Eevee, the fan favorite. There was a rumor leak where a new evolution of Eevee potentially, which, you know, they're going to go crazy for. The people are going to love it. But we'll see what happens, of course. Pokemon Quest being your most sought after, looked after sort of game expectation, Nick?
Not really. It's just one of those like it probably just didn't make enough money for them to warrant another one, but it probably made fine amount of money. It's just a cool game, and probably like they have like China's got a bootleg version of it. I'm serious. Like there's actually a Pokemon Quest 2 in China. The second,
and I believe they're also trying to sue them over there as well for that bootleg.
Yeah, Nintendo's suing everybody. These people stand on the highest high horse where they used to sell nudie cards. Like, and in some cases they still do. Like, I really can't stand these people sometimes, man. Like, Nintendo irks the shit out of me, man. $60 games, standing on high horses, built on pornography. Like, what the fuck, man? Anyway, no, but Pokemon's going to be great.
I think that's a pretty interesting note to leave this on. Pokemon Day is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of different things happening. A mainline game, perhaps. We're going to be seeing some potential emulation. I would really love to see them announce actual emulation that crosses, what's it called? Consoles. They have a very bad habit of just console locking the game generation locking the game so that you have to rebuy it and buy it again at that $40, $60 price point that they never bring down. And of course, you know, that's their scheme, that's their model, etc. But like the digital aspect of it where they could just have that online version for some of these ROMs and emulations.
Could you imagine? They found a way.
If they tie it to the live service of paying for online, right? That might be cool.
No, dude, they found a way. They found a way to hype everybody up for taking a $30 game, upscaling it using AI. Okay. And then they're going to sell it to you for 60. Like, so like, and if I'm wrong, that's fine. But I really hope in that case that I'm not wrong, because that sounds perfect. They upscale it with AI. They sell it to you for 60 with no work put into it whatsoever. The cool thing would be an actual Pokemon app where you could actually buy Pokemon games specifically on Nintendo hardware. And it doesn't matter what hardware you're on. You can just buy Pokemon games and play the Pokemon games. And then the Pokemon Home feature, which you have to use in order to trade Pokemon between the little things anyway, can also last longer as well and have a yearly service fee. You know, I don't know if it does right now. Probably does. Who knows? But, you know, that sounds great to make money, what I just said.
I think that might be closer to what they're going to be doing, but we'll have to wait and see this Thursday, February 27th, for what announcements are actually announced. You know, if their hands were forced, like the CES Switch 2 leak, or if we're going to actually get a tangible hands-on thing later this year for the mainline games. We'll have to see this Thursday, February 27th. Nick, I think that kind of sums up this podcast overall. It was a lot of different things going from Overwatch, League of Legends, and Marvel Rivals all the way here to Pokemon, man. Thanks for joining me. What are you looking forward to this week besides seeing if you're right in Pokemon Day?
With Pokemon Day? Let's see. I don't want to say nothing because that would just be so depressing. Let's say
I could start if you want to think about it.
No. The waiter came over to me first. I'm the first person to give my order. Now stop. Let's see. No, because League's not even going to be starting. So I really got nothing. I'm going to be playtesting Magic the Gathering decks probably. That's probably what I'm going to be doing. Like proxying like 4 different Magic decks, gold fishing for hours, and then testing them against a dude named Ewok.
Yeah, a dude named Ewok's going to be quite busy handling you and your opinions, of course. But I'm looking forward to like a little bit more of this perk system with Overwatch. Seeing if Pokemon actually does announce a little bit more.
You're 100% right. Sorry to interrupt. Billy's gonna make me play that Overwatch.
I am, and hopefully do it on stream. So make sure you follow, subscribe on our YouTube or Twitch page to check that out. Come play some games with us. Maybe we'll do some viewer games where we can see how wrinkly brain Nick is at Overwatch. Maybe see how smooth brain Billy is at League of Legends a little bit too. Or just let's go like face roll on Marvel Rivals real quick and have some fun there. But, I'm looking forward to that stuff this week. I really do hope Pokemon is going to be giving us more than some of these lackluster, lame duck stuff Nintendo has done in the past. Maybe bounce back the good faith of the lawsuits and get those shills who have yelled at us in comments before about how great Nintendo is. Some actual content to be excited for in general. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll see how that sort of goes. And of course, we'll see that next week where we stream again the podcast Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch and YouTube. Nick, thank you for joining me. And if you're still watching out there, thanks for watching along and sticking out with us. You can follow us at the Esports Meta everywhere there's social media. Again, Nick, thanks for having me. Letting me join your podcast with your opinions and stuff. No, thanks for being here, man. It was really great talking with you about these things. I love being able to go in deeper and like these little angles that you're not seeing other places. So I really do appreciate it.
Yawning. Yeah, good to
I
be
bore
here.
you. That's
That
cool.
holds and stuff. No, just I just yawn a lot. That's all.
Yeah, it's almost been 3 hours, so we're wearing you out. Let's get to the outro here. This has been the Esports Meta, your place for competitive video games and news. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.